Hello,
Hi there. I'm Jen,
I'm Kimberly.
and this is that vegan morning show in the evening.
Yeah. Jen, where is it currently morning though? Because it has to be morning somewhere, right?
It is definitely morning, and you know me, I like to look it up before the show and surprise us all with someplace new. So, right now, it is 6 a.m. on Tuesday in Bali right now.
Oh, very nice. Oh, to be on the beach. Oh, that sounds nice.
And I hear Bali is very vegan friendly.
Okay.
I have heard
Doubly
good
nice
things
then.
about that. One day, Kimberly, you and I should go just when we're rich and famous.
That's right.
We need a field trip to Bali
Yes.
or someplace.
I am here for that.
Me too. So we always have a big topic
hmm
every week. And just a quick note, last week I had a family emergency, so we ended up not being on last week. So if anyone's watching, wondering where we were last week, everything's okay. But and now we're back to our regularly scheduled programming. And so, yeah, we are going to talk about the human cost of the kill floor
Mm,
today, which is an area you don't hear too much about. Um, Obviously, the pain and suffering that the animals go through is terrible.
hmm
And, but there's also pain and suffering that happens through a lot of the slaughterhouse workers go through. A lot of them are marginalized populations, they're taken advantage of, and there's a lot there. So I'm really glad that we're taking some time out to really shine a light on that.
Me too. I also like because it I also like that we're covering it because I mean, how often have you heard, since you've been vegan, people accuse you of not caring about humans?
Mhm.
"Oh, you only care about animals, you don't care about humans, shouldn't you care about humans?" And I think that, this conversation proves that veganism does include humans, and we do care about humans because there is a lot of suffering that the humans there go through, and the humans who live with or interact with people who work in slaughterhouses also very often are suffering as well. And
Mhm.
it really expands out beyond the people and their work and like affects their lives and the lives of those around them.
Yeah, 100%. And before we dive into our topic, I see we have some viewers who have joined us live. So if you want to share where you're watching from and be part of the conversation, let us know if you have any questions or any thoughts that you want to share on this topic. And if you're watching the replay later on, feel free to do the same. Me and Kimberly will check the comments and respond at a later time.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. So, Kimberly, did you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. So I used a couple of different resources,
Hmm.
and I'm sure that you also leveraged some of the resources, at least that I'm about to mention. Um, so one, I've got two books. This one, Out of Sight by Gail Nice Eisnitz. Look at us.
Hmm.
She also has her first book is about slaughterhouses, so I would encourage maybe you to check out both. And then, oh, that was a weird sound the book made. That was definitely the book. Um, and then this other book is Melanie Joy, and it is the title that everybody always forgets the order. Why We Love Dogs, Eat Pigs, and Wear Cows.
Yeah,
Um,
and I have the audiobook version of that.
so I used both of these. Plus, I read some articles online, some abstracts and stuff from the National Institutes of Health. And one of the things that really stood out, but does not at all surprise me, is that we actually don't know how many people are harmed over the course of a year in
Mm.
slaughterhouse work because the expectation is that it's very underreported. So there are employees who will, like the ones that end up typically being reported because it's hard to hide it, is like employees who are cleaning machines that are used to in some aspect of the slaughtering of the animals. They people have been, suffered amputation of limbs, they severed fingers. Those are a lot harder to hide
Right.
than smaller things. One of the examples from Gail's book was a guy who worked at a pork processing plant, and he had a pig that he was preparing to slaughter. And I'm going to try not to be graphic, uh, because you can find those details everywhere. But and the pig was kicking because the pig was terrified. And when the pig kicked, he or she actually kicked the hand the guy was holding the knife in, and he wound up stabbing himself.
Mm.
Yeah. So he was really, really hurt, and he hadn't even actually done his job yet. He was on the kill floor. And so there's even like these examples where you almost wouldn't think of it, you know, and people are being harmed. But the expectation that it's these issues and like injuries are not as reported is because, like you said at the top of this, a lot of the people who work in these areas are also in marginalized groups. And
Mhm.
so they may not report an injury or an issue because they're afraid to lose their job, because they are afraid of someone finding out their immigration status if that is an issue for them. Uh, Maybe their age. It could be that, they need to provide for their family, but they're technically not old enough. So their paperwork may not be accurate. And then so to find out that, they're in violation of that could be very risky for them. So there's all of these scenarios where the people who are in these slaughterhouses are just not able to protect themselves in all ways and not able to get the help that they need, whether they're physically hurt, emotionally, or mentally harmed by the work that they're doing. I have said a lot of things and I have a lot more to share. But Jen, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, yeah, thank you for getting this all started because I had a lot of thoughts and I didn't know how to organize the beginning of this. And I'm like, you know what, Kimberly's good with that. Let her start.
Okay.
So thank you for kicking us off.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, first of all, Gail's book is such a great read. I mean, it's hard to read at times.
Yeah.
But not only does it expose a lot of disturbing things about this industry, but there's also her own personal story. Just a quick side note, her own personal story, because she had a condition that took a long time, a rare condition that took a long time to get diagnosed. So she shares her own journey and she's going through all these health treatments. She also had cancer in her 30s while doing all this undercover work in slaughterhouses. So if you want like a little bit of something uplifting while reading all the hard things, I just feel like this is such a great book all around.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that. But yes, so there's what you said, right? The injuries that can happen because these are frightened animals. I won't get too graphic. There's also insane amounts of high volume that they're expected to kill a large amount of animals in a short amount of time. And so a lot of the time they're not doing the precautions to help the animals not suffer. They're just trying to meet their quota. And that can be dangerous, right? Because these animals are terrified, understandably so. On top of that, there's also the unsanitary conditions in the slaughterhouses.
Yeah.
I have read instances where a lot of time they can't have bathroom breaks.
Yeah.
There are workers who wear diapers.
Mhm.
Okay. Imagine how awful that must be. You have to work in this horrific environment, and you can't even take care of your most basic needs
Yeah.
for your own comfort.
Mhm.
You have to neglect and ignore your body's needs
Yeah.
for that. Then there's just the kill floor can be very unsanitary because there's all this pressure to meet this high volume. There's blood everywhere. Not trying to get too graphic, but obviously that's part of it. Also, feces. As animals are being, brought either raised for to be slaughtered or waiting around to be slaughtered. All these things. There's and a lot of them die too. A lot of animals die, so there's a lot of, especially pig farms, for example.
Mm.
Right? There's a lot of like, I was reading in Gail's book about pigs just dying because of how they're kept.
Mm.
And then, there's a lot of unsanitary things that can come from that, right? The air quality, right? The
Mhm.
people a lot that's another thing, right? A lot of the workers deal with respiratory issues. There are pregnant women
Mm.
who work in these industries who have suffered from miscarriages or other issues because they're just trying to make money for their family to survive. And a lot of these slaughterhouses are in small communities where there's not a lot of jobs and other industries, and people are just desperate for work. So they're taken advantage of
Mhm.
because of the desperation that their circumstances have placed them in.
Yeah. And two, it was interesting to see that there was like a 3-year cohort study done back in like 2015, and
Mhm.
it looked at people who worked in the pork meat packing plants. And out of 5,400 employees, over 1,000 of them would suffer injuries. And the expectation is that 33% of their employees at any time could be injured in some way from the work. And you mentioned the like the kill floor with the blood. Like, how many times do people even just slip
Yeah, oh,
and
yeah.
fall, and maybe they don't, maybe they sprain a wrist, or maybe they break an arm, like it's even something as simple as that, to just like slip and fall on the floor. And I had a thought and now it has just gone out of my head, but it was okay, I don't know. Hopefully it'll come back to me. But you said something that triggered it, and I thought I wrote it down, and I'm not seeing it. Um, but yeah, well, there's the emotional toll too. Maybe it'll just come back to me after as
Yeah.
we move on. Um, Domestic violence rates. Oh, that's the thing. So it's not even that it's like industrial work, because
Mm,
there are lots of dangerous industrial work, right? Anybody
mhm.
working in a factory at any time, managing a machine of any sort, there's risk. There's a lot of safety protocols in
Yeah.
place. You see binders all around in factories with like they're huge with all of the things that they're supposed to do in order to make sure that nobody gets hurt. But even in other industries where they have that risk of injury or death, it's not as high for even those as it is for slaughterhouse workers. That was and I think I read that in an NPR article.
Mhm.
But I was not surprised by that, but pretty pretty telling as to, and I think it speaks to everything that we've kind of touched on already, like even somebody not being able to go to the bathroom and having to wear a diaper to work because that you're not going to be able to take that break. And so if they can't even take a break for that, like they're not getting lunch, they're not able to even, you can't stop and have a snack while you're slaughtering
Mm.
animals on the kill floor, right? So now like they're also hungry, which can be disorienting, if you
Sure.
go, because they're not very often they're also just not working, 8-hour shifts, or they're not part-time 4-hour shifts. Like they can be there for 10, 12 hours sometimes. And to go that long without eating can be also dangerous, can probably lead to additional issues and injuries and things that when they're looking at the bottom line, the owner of the slaughterhouse is just like, the more animals that go through, the more money I make, and not considering just how much this impacts their employees.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Kimberly. And I had a thought as you were sharing about that. Like in Gail's book, a lot of things were covered up, right?
Mhm.
She had a lot of evidence, and a lot of networks and other types of media outlets didn't want to report it because people would be disgusted,
Yeah.
right? And so that ties into what you were talking about, other industries that are dangerous, but I think it's probably more acceptable to prioritize that safety
Mhm.
than it is acceptable to expose all the unsafe practices in a slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
Because my thoughts on that is, right, it impacts what people eat. If people knew the truth, they would be horrified and they're not going to want to eat it. That's why a lot of these things happen, and out in, in rural areas,
Mhm.
right? You're not going to have a big slaughterhouse in the middle of a city where everyone's
Right.
going to know about it,
Mhm.
right? So these
Yeah.
things are purposely kept as hidden as possible. They don't want people to know the truth about their food, right?
Mhm.
And it perpetuates that cognitive dissonance that keeps people detached from their food source, because they just walk into the grocery store and grab it off the shelf, and it's already packaged for them. You know what it is, but you don't think too much about it. And I used to be just like that
Mhm.
because I didn't grow up vegan. Now I walk in the grocery store and I just see a graveyard.
Yeah.
And but that's what happens when we become vegan and we go through all of this. So, going back to your point about other industries that are dangerous, it seems more acceptable to advocate for the safety of those workers
Mhm.
versus advocating for the safety of people who work in the slaughterhouse industry. So I don't know, what are your thoughts on all of that?
I think you're right on with that, because you're right. Like if somebody found out that their favorite brand of car in the factory, they were taking some shortcuts, to get cars out more quickly, people would be like, okay, we'll just fix like whatever it is, like, that um that you've decided needs to be faster or whatever. Like they're
Mhm.
not going to stop buying that car. They're just going to There's going to be conversations and push for people for the companies to do things differently. But you're right, it's not going to change or make people face what they're doing, because nobody would go, "Oh, well, my Honda, I heard that they try to speed the line, but like I love my Honda. Like I'm not going to, and I've only ever driven Hondas." It's not going to make somebody stop buying Hondas. But and there doesn't need to be this guilt around it. But when somebody finds out what's happening in a slaughterhouse, and even if they think that they don't care about animals and that animals are tasty and that's what they want to eat, uh, to even hear about how people might be suffering, or
Right.
just the level of, like you said, like kind of like unsanitary uh environment that they're in, like that is going to make somebody, then now they have to stop and they have to think about, okay, if I'm buying that and this is where it's coming from, I am complicit in this. If they
Mhm.
even make it that far, by the way, right? A lot of people will shut it off before they even realize that they're complicit in it. But yeah, it does. It makes you have to face and look at your own stuff, what you're doing, how are you contributing to it? And like, it's kind of, it does make people shut off. And so it's in the interest of the businesses, the slaughterhouse owners, to hide as much as they can. And when they're using marginalized workers who don't have the ability to stand up for themselves for whatever reason, they can continue to take advantage and they can continue to push, and nobody's going to say anything because the people who are in power are making money off of it. The people who could demand change don't want to look at their part of it. And the people who are in it and suffering from it don't have the place to stand to say, knock it off.
Yeah, 100%. As you were saying all of that, I've mentioned this documentary before. They're trying to kill us. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like it's such an important documentary that everybody should watch.
Yeah.
It just shows how much corruption there is in the food system across the board. It covers everything.
Yeah.
In that documentary, and you can watch it for free on Unchained TV. Last time I checked, I'm
Okay.
sure it's still there. But I just wanted to throw that out there. And there's a lot of resources out there. And if this is an area that, those of you watching, if this is an area you haven't looked at much, now's a great time to go explore it more. I'll admit it's an area that I didn't think about too much. And I think too, when you're on your vegan journey, it's an ongoing journey, right? There's a pre-vegan journey, then there's a journey you go on as a vegan.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you've committed to being a vegan, I feel like then you go on a totally different journey
Yeah.
of, really going down, really like, looking at all of the different things that
Mm-hmm.
happen with around the exploitation of animals. And part of that is exploiting other humans.
Yeah.
Uh, Another way that humans are also exploited is the fashion industry, like with leather, for
Mm-hmm.
example. Like, I mean, I know today's topic is about slaughterhouses, but we're talking about the exploitation of human beings.
Yeah.
And there's even child labor in some countries where, there's that stupid argument that, oh, leather's natural, vegan
Mm.
leather's not, right?
Right.
First of all, vegan leather has come a long way.
Mhm.
Second of all, just because it's a cow's skin doesn't mean it's natural, because they have to do a lot of processing and then put a lot of chemicals into that in order for it to stay preserved. So, but I digress. But there's a lot of exploitation in those industries as well. And this is an area where as my journey to veganism started as food because of food and eating better. And then then it went into the other stuff. Like I was more like plant-based and gravitating to that. And then when I started to understand what was happening more so in the animal world, and just that cognitive dissonance started to dissipate, and now it's like that next level of my learning. How is this impacting humans? And unfortunately, there is a lot of that. And there's that argument of, well, this is how it's always been,
Mm.
right? How is that working for us in the world right now?
Right. It is not.
That's a whole other topic, but
Yeah, for sure.
it ties in with this, right? You have all of these old power systems, right? And they hurt people,
Mhm.
and it's not right.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of hurting people, before we run out of time, I just wanted to touch on the emotional impact of slaughterhouse workers, because I mean, just think about the work, like doing this kind of work, right?
Mhm.
And what being exposed to that level of violence and being the hands that are contributing and doing that violence. Think about like what that does to you as a person, right?
Mhm.
And when when you are doing that every day, perpetuating that violence, and you are engaging in these things, it does something to us. Like humans, I don't think we're made to be killing anyone over and
Mhm.
over and over again every single day. And so when you're engaged like that and then you go home, like what do you do with the people around you?
Yeah.
Because like there's there's tons of studies that show that domestic violence is higher for areas where there are slaughterhouses. People who work there
Mhm.
have a more likely occurrence of domestic violence, and it's just like they can become desensitized, which makes it easier to be violent just across the board. They don't have the resources, or probably not even the benefits, like medical benefits, mental health benefits, in order to get the help that they need.
Yeah.
Many of them have PTSD from the work that they do every day. And it's just like, how do you how do you do that every day and have it not completely
Mhm.
change who you are?
Yeah. It's like people who have to, you know, fight in wars,
Mhm.
right? Soldiers have PTSD, and not all, and also just seeing your fellow coworkers getting injured because you can see some really terrible, like we didn't want to get graphic here, but there are really graphic injuries that I have read about,
Mhm.
uh, and so it's kind of like being you know, in the in the lines of you know, a battle and of a different sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all around bad. And like you were saying, there are these systems in place that just need they need an overdue, a rehaul, like they need to be broken down and built up
Mhm.
into something else, because it's not working, and it's just perpetuating more violence in our world, and we don't need that. So we do need to figure out how to break this down and change it.
100%. And that's why you and I are doing the work that we're doing,
Yeah.
to shine the light on these things that are hidden from us. And it's not about shaming people.
Mhm.
It's just, again, it's when we know better, we can do better.
Right.
And that's, I didn't know better at one point, and I just want to help others know and understand about these things on there, that are happening, and so we can have these difficult conversations. And you know, it's very easy to say, oh, what can I do, I'm just one person.
Mm.
But when we talk to people, when we educate people, when we educate ourselves, we don't have to support these systems anymore. And the
Yeah.
more of us that don't support them, that's, you know, one person times, you know, a million makes a
Mhm.
difference.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. And, we can't know better if people aren't being honest. So,
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes on this show, we're gonna just have fun, and it's gonna be light, and we're gonna be silly, and we're gonna talk about all of the great things about being vegan. And there are so many, but then other times we have to talk about and be honest about the things that are the reasons why we are vegan, and the level of violence and the horrors and the suffering, that's why.
100%. And just to add to your point, your ending point there, real quickly, because we're at time, you
Mhm.
had mentioned before about how people say, well, don't you care about humans? Going vegan is an act that kind of covers everything across the board
Mhm.
because it supports human rights.
Yeah.
It supports animal rights. It also supports, health and wellness, the environment. So if you want to do one big thing that can make a
Mhm.
big impact on everything, can check all of the boxes, go vegan.
Yeah.
So that's my final thought on that.
Well, thank you for that. As always, this has been so much fun, and I'm so glad that we're here doing this.
Same here. Kimberly, was there anything you wanted to plug for this week before we wrap
Yes,
up?
please. New episode of Did You Bring the Hummus this week with Anna Ferguson of World Peace Yoga and Our Collective Heart. We talk about her vegan journey, of course, but then also about how exclusionary westernized yoga is and
Mm,
continues to become, and what she's doing in her own work to kind of combat that. It's a really awesome episode.
great.
Yeah.
And I had Anna on also recently on the Confident Vegan. She's really great to talk with.
Yeah. What about you? Do you have anything you want to plug?
I'm working on posting a new video. I'm a little behind. I'm playing catch up. So I'll be posting something on Wednesday.
Okay, nice. I look forward to whatever it is.
Yeah, actually, no, it's oh my goodness, I'm like blanking out. Well, anyway, check out the Confident Vegan
There you
and
go.
you'll see my latest interview there as well. So, with that, we will see you next week.
Yeah. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.